Welcome back. We are continuing on with the NazActs Book 5. We're up to chapter 24, and we'll just go ahead and get started. But to these things the serpent answers us with another mouth, and says, If God did not wish these things to be, then they should not be. I am not telling you how it is that many contrary things are permitted to be in this world for the probation of everyone's mind. But this is what is suitable to be said in the meantime. If, according to you, everything that was to be worshipped ought not to have been, then there would have been almost nothing in this world. So in other words, this lie from the serpent is, well, God created these things, so if he didn't want us to worship them, then he shouldn't have created them. And Peter's saying, yeah, well, if that were the case, there wouldn't be hardly anything in the world, and he's going to get ready to say, you guys pretty much have worshipped everything you could find. For what is there that you have left without worshiping it? The sun, the moon, the stars, the water, the earth, mountains, trees, stones, men. There is no one of these that you have not worshipped. According to your saying, therefore, none of these ought to have been made by God, that you might not have anything that you could worship. Yea, he ought not to even made men themselves to be the worshippers. But this is the very thing which that serpent which lurks within you desires, for he spares none of you. He would have no one of you escape from destruction, but it shall not be. For I tell you that not that which is worshipped is in fault, but he who worships. So it's not the fault of the idol, it's your fault. You're the one that does it. For with Yahweh is just judgment, and he judges in one way the sufferer, and in another way the doer of the wrong. This is the very thing which the serpent which lurks within you desires. What is he talking about there? He wishes that that God would have not even made men. This is the desire. The desire of the serpent is he wants men destroyed, all men. So when you see that there's certain people pushing this idea of population control, and as Bill Gates said, that if we do a really good job with these jabs and what he calls, of course, health care, that we can reduce the Earth's population by like a third or whatever he says. He wants to reduce the population by like billions of people. So whose idea is that? Who wants that? Who desires that? It's the serpent. So who are they serving? So anyway, if you want to know what the adversary's primary mission is, he wants men wiped off the face of the earth. That's what he wants. But you say, then those who adore what ought not to be adored should be immediately destroyed by God to prevent others doing the like. But are you wiser than Yahweh that you should offer him counsel? He knows what to do. For with all who are placed in ignorance, he exercises patience. See, the patience of the Lord, the patience of, whether speaking about the Lord as in Yahweh or whether he's speaking about Yeshua, this patience is hoping that those who are engrossed in sin will repent. That's why when we looked at 2 Peter 3:16, when he supposedly gives his validation of Paul, that's not what it is when it's correctly translated, but before he even mentions Paul's name, he brings up the patience of the Lord. So what's the patience of the Lord? Well, it's to allow sinners time to repent, because he is merciful and gracious, and foresees that many of the ungodly become godly, and that even some of those who worship impure statues and polluted images have been converted to God, and forsaking their sin and doing good works attain to salvation. But it is said we ought never to have come even to the thought of doing these things. You do not know what free will is, and you forget that he is good who is so by his own intention. But he who is retained in goodness by necessity cannot be called good, because it is not of himself that he is so. Because therefore there is in everyone liberty to choose good or evil. He either acquires rewards or brings destruction on himself. This is a repeated issue that is brought up by Peter over and over again in the Nazarene Acts. God gave us free will. So however we use that free will is our choice. So if we use our free will for evil, the blame falls on us. Now, sometimes good people like to blame God for the actions of evil people. And more often than not, this is a talking point that's put forth by those who do not love God, is that he is responsible for all the suffering in the world. But it's not him that created all the suffering. Now, suffering is part of the plan. We all go through suffering. We all go through hard times. Life can't be just, roses and rainbows and unicorns all the time. You're going to go through hard times. And the things that we can control, we all have liberty to choose good or evil. And if you didn't have this liberty to choose good or evil, there would be no way to be good. Because you are only good when it is by your intention. But if you are forced to be good, or retained in goodness by necessity, well, my mouse isn't working for some reason, then you're not really good. You're just doing what you're programmed to. It's like a robot. Like if a robot is programmed to do a good service, then it doesn't mean the robot itself is good. It's just doing what it was programmed to do. God could have made us all like robots and we would be programmed to only be good. But he didn't do that. He gave us free will. Nay, it is said, God brings to our minds whatsoever we think. What do you mean, O men? You blaspheme. For if he brings all our thoughts into our minds, then it is he that suggests to us thoughts of adultery and covetousness and blasphemy and every kind of effeminacy. Cease, I entreat of you, these blasphemies, and understand what is the honor worthy of Yahweh. And I say not, as some of you are accustomed to say, that God needs not honor from men. Indeed, he truly is in need of none. But you ought to know that the honor which you bestow upon God is profitable to yourselves. For what is so appalling as for a man not to render thanks to his Creator? But it is said, we do better who gives thanks both to himself and to all with him. In this you do not understand that there is the ruin of your salvation. For it is as if a sick man should call in for his cure a physician, and at the same time poisoners also. Since these could indeed injure him, but not cure him, the true physician would therefore refuse to mix his remedies with their poisons, lest either the man's destruction should be ascribed to the good, or his recovery to the injurious. So, what he's saying is, the argument is, we do better who give thanks to both himself and to all with him. Now, by the all, they mean all idols. So, like if you just give thanks to all gods for whatever benefit that you've been given, whatever blessing you have, then that's the argument that Peter's responding to here. And he's saying, why would God bless you if you're praying to all these foreign gods? Because then you'll just ascribe to them the goodness that he gave you. But if you say, is God then indignant or envious, if, when he benefits us, our thanks be rendered to others? Even if he be not indignant, at all events he does not wish to be the author of error, that by means of his work credit should be given to a vain idol. And what is so impious, so ungrateful, as to obtain a benefit from God, and to render thanks to blocks of wood and stone? Wherefore arise and understand your salvation, for God is in need of no one, nor does he require anything, nor is he hurt by anything. But we are either helped or hurt, in that we are grateful or ungrateful. For what does Yahweh gain from our praises, or what does he lose by our blasphemies? Only this we must remember, that Yahweh brings into proximity and friendship with himself the soul that renders thanks to him. But the wicked demon retains the ungrateful soul. But this also I would have you know, that upon such souls God does not take vengeance directly, but his whole creation rises up and inflicts punishments upon the impious. And although in this present world the goodness of God bestows the light of the world and the services of the earth alike upon the pious and the impious, Yet not without grief does the sun afford his light, and the other elements perform their service to the impious. And in short, sometimes even the opposition to the goodness of the Creator, the elements are wearied out by the crimes of the wicked. And thence it is that either the fruit of the earth is blighted, or the composition of the air is spoiled, or the heat of the sun is increased beyond measure, or there is an excessive amount of rain or cold. Thence pestilence and famine and death in various forms stalk forth. For the creation hastens to take vengeance on the wicked, yet the goodness of Yahweh restrains it, and bridles its indignation against the wicked, and compels it to be obedient to his mercy rather than to be inflamed by the sins and the crimes of men. Because the patience of Yahweh waits for the conversion of men as long as they are in this body. Again, the patience of Yahweh waits for the conversion of men. So when you don't see God rising up and striking someone down every time they sin, this is why. Also, I think it's interesting the way that he describes the creation rising up and inflicting punishment on the impious, that it's not God directly doing it, it's just the creation. It reminds me of an immune system. Like in the same way our body has an immune system and it will work to eject disease and different types of bacteria and whatnot, that the earth itself, the creation itself, seems to have this immune system built in also, and it will work to eject the corruption and the wickedness of impious men. But if any persists in impiety to the end of life, then as soon as the soul which is immortal departs, it shall pay the penalty of its persistence in impiety. For even the souls of the impious are immortal, though perhaps they themselves will wish to end up with their bodies. But it is not so, for they endure without end in the torments of eternal fire, and to their destruction they have not the quality of mortality. But perhaps you will say to me, You terrify us, O Peter, and how shall we speak to you the things which are in reality? How can we declare to you the truth by keeping silence? We cannot state the things which are otherwise than they are. But if we were silent, we should make ourselves the cause of the ignorance that is ruinous to you, and should satisfy the serpent that lurks within you, and blocks up your senses, who cunningly suggests these things to you, that he may make you always the enemies of God. But we are sent for this end, that we may betray his disguises to you, and melting your enmities may reconcile you to Yahweh, that you may be converted to him, and may please him by good works. For man is at enmity with God, and is in an unreasonable and impious state of mind and wicked disposition toward him, especially when he thinks that he knows something and is in ignorance. But when you lay aside these and begin to be pleased and displeased with the same things which please and displease God, and to desire what God desires, then you shall truly be called his friends. So how do you please God? How do you please God? You please God through good works. Not through faith alone or just empty belief, but through works. But perhaps some of you will say, God has no care of human things, and if we cannot even attain to the knowledge of him, how shall we attain to his friendship? That Yahweh does concern himself with the affairs of men, his government of the world bears witness. For the sun daily waits upon it, the showers minister to it, the fountains, rivers, winds, and all elements attend upon it. And the more these things become known to men, the more they do to indicate God's care over men. For unless by the power of the Most High the more powerful would never minister to the inferior, and by this God is shown to have not only a care over men, but some great affection, since he has disputed such noble elements to their service. But that men may also attain to the friendship of Yahweh is proved to us by the example of those whose prayers he has been so favorable, that he has withheld the heavenly rain. He has withheld the heaven from rain when they wished, and has again opened it when they prayed. And many other things he has bestowed upon those who do his will, which could not be bestowed upon but upon his friends. But you will say, What harm is done to God if these things are also worshipped by us? If any one of you should pay another the honors that is due to his Father, from whom he has received innumerable benefits, and should reverence a stranger and a foreigner as his father, should you not think that he was undutiful toward his Father, and most deservedly to be disinherited? Others say it is wicked if we do not worship these idols which have come down to us from our fathers, and to prove false the religion bequeathed to us by our ancestors. On this principle, if anyone's father was a robber or a base fellow, he ought not to change the manner of life handed down to him by his fathers, nor to be recalled from his father's errors to a better way. And it is reckoned impious if one do not sin with his parents or does not persist in impiety with them. Others say we ought not to be troublesome to God, and to be always burdening him with complaints of our miseries, or with the exigencies of our petitions. How foolish and witless an answer! Do you think it is troublesome to Yahweh if you thank him for his benefits, while you do not think it troublesome to him if, for his gifts, you render thanks to sticks and stones? And how comes it that when rain is withheld in a long drought, we turn our eyes to heaven and entreat the gift of rain from Yahweh Almighty, and all of us with our little ones pour out prayers to God and entreat his compassion? But truly ungrateful souls, when they obtain the blessing, quickly forget, for as soon as they have gathered in their harvest or their vintage, straightway they offer first fruits to the deaf and dumb images, and pay vows in temples or groves for those things which Yahweh has bestowed upon them, and then other sacrifices to demons, and having received a favor, change the bestower of it for another. So I think I probably need to stop here. We've got, looks like about 3 more pages. I think there's 37 chapters in this book, so I'm going to break it up by stopping here, and then presumably next time we'll finish out book 5. So thanks for listening. Shalom.